Alright, I haven't done a lore video in a while. I tried. I tried, dude. I really did. I read Masters of Stone and Steel. It was a good omnibus of dwarves. Didn't have any stories that I could really talk about too much, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just not do a lore video on that. And then I read the Skaven Black Plague trilogy. It was really fun. I enjoyed it a ton. It was a great book. Loved it. It had some serious plot holes towards the end, but that's pretty classic Warhammer Fantasy shit. I tried making a video on it. I put on some music in the background that's never had ads for me before, and it had ads 3 times, which is a pain in the ass. So I had to turn that off mid recording. And then my computer hard crashed about 45 minutes into the recording. I wasn't sold that it was even going to be a good video in the first place. So I'm like, all right, it's a bad video plagued with a bunch of bugs and issues, and then it fucking crashed. I have to do it over again. Fuck it, it's not worth it. So I'm not making a video. Black Plague was bad for the Skaven. It was a good book. It was funny. Haha, the Skaven betrayed themselves. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. So what do we salvage from this darkness? Well, I do have a video that could maybe get some views on the old YouTube. So let's dig into it. What's the next Skaven DLC gonna be? I think it should be the Forgotten Terrors for the Skaven. Call it the Forgotten Terrors, and let's figure out what's gonna be in this DLC. And why are you on a black screen right now? Because be patient. Give me like a fucking second. God. Anyway. In my studying of the old tomes, the old Black Plague tomes, Scythar Doom, pretty much the Ikklaw of Clan Scryer before Ikklaw was even born, he invented a machine called the Warpcaster. Let me describe it for you. Why are we on a black screen? Shut up! Let me describe it for you. It is a large construction of metal and occasionally rotted wood. It had doom wheels, 4 wheels, 6 of them, powering the large construction forward. Back in the loading arm, engineers would place a large globe of green warpstone. It would then, the arm would snap forward, the globe of warpstone would go flying through the air, and wherever it landed, a mighty explosion would erupt and then suck inwards. And when the men opened their eyes, there was nothing left on the street block but an empty crater. Now, if you wanted to implement this in Total War, how would you do that? Well, maybe a Queen Bess type artillery machine, but it'd have to be self-propelled. It'd have to be some kind of big war machine. Well, CA's never made one of those before. It's not like it would be crazy easy to implement such a thing. Oh, Jesus Christ, they do! It's the fucking Dreadquake Mortar. It's literally that. Just make it Skaven-y. Turn that bright red ball into green. And you got the fucking Warpcaster. That's all it is. Obviously, you wouldn't make it any good at melee at all. You'd just make it, like, slow and squishy in melee combat, whatever. But you can just steal the artillery animations from the Dreadquake Mortar and make it, like, super easily. It would not be hard. And there you go, Warpcaster. Now these DLCs usually come with a legendary lord and a legendary hero. The legendary hero should just be Ska Bloodtail, Queek's right-hand man, the largest storm vermin ever in existence. He has a dwarven runic great axe as his weapon, and he's just fucking great. There's not a whole lot to say about Ska, though. He'd just be a buffed-up chieftain with Guardian. That's not really a lot to say. For the Lord, though, it's obvious everybody wants Thanquol, and I think they already have a model in the game for how Thanquol should work. You should have Skarsnik's model, pretty much. Whereas Skarsnik is, of course, Skarsnik and Gobla. You could do the same thing with Thanquol and Bone Ripper. Just put Thanquol, you know, like a Gracier type model on the ground, and then have a mutant rat ogre model in him, you know, where they're like, it's one unit, but you just have a mutant rat ogre standing next to Thanquol. And then he would have pretty high melee stats because of the rat ogre. Obviously, the melee stats come from the rat ogre, not from him. And then he'd have probably a mixed lore spell kit, but mostly ruin. I think he would just have Flensing Ruin, though. That's the only difference from him and like the other Grey Seers is he would have Crack's Call. I'm trying to think of what he used in the books. He used Warp Lightning, Howling Warp Gale, Crack's Call, Flensing Ruin. He didn't have the Dreaded 13th, so you just cut that, and then you can get Scorch and you can get Death Frenzy. That's fine. But yeah, give him like the Warlock Engineer lore. Is fine. But yeah, I think he'd have to be like a hybrid caster melee combatant, not really particularly amazing at either. And probably make him pretty expensive, but that'd be how you do his lore the best. That, or have him mounted like the Chieftain is mounted on the Bonebreaker mount. Just have him mounted on, you know, Mutant Rat Ogre. Call it Bone Ripper. Next on the list is also pretty easy. Just steal the Storm Fiends from Age of Sigmar / Vermintide. Y'all know the Storm Fiends, right? They're just Mutant Rat Ogres with range attacks. CA's propensity to give melee units hybrid stats nowadays is pretty well known. So that also kind of fits in a theme they're going with. Just take a Mutant Rat Ogre, increase its cost, decrease its melee capacity by a little bit, and then give it... I mean, you could give it a Rattling Gun variant and a Warpfire variant. So you could have two variants of it, where like the Rattling Gun one would provide armor-piercing missiles and suppressed, whereas the Warpfire one would apply the Leadership Discouraged debuff, reduce healing, of course, because it's fire damage, but also probably do more damage to infantry than the Rattling Gun version does. And there you go, you get a 2-for-1 with minimal effort, because you already have the Mutant Rat Ogre model. You just make it less shiny, take the Warpstone out of its shoulder, and turn that into like machinery, but otherwise you have the model. It's super low effort. I don't know, people like single entities and stuff. So, yeah, Storm Fiends would be a pretty good addition with Thanquol. Alright, next up we do have Clan Mordkin. Their flag is in the game, so people know they exist, and the Grey Seer that leads them on the campaign map is called Blight 10 Scratch, which is a reference to the Black Plague Lord. He wasn't a Grey Seer, he was just a warlord, but they know Clan Mordkin exists, and they would also be pretty easy to implement. You just kind of like the Pestigors of Nurgle are for the Beastmen, right? Where you have Zongors and Pestigors, but it's just Gore Herds that are upgraded. You do the same for Skaven. You'd have Clan Rats, then you'd have Clan Mordkin Clan Rats. And as you can kind of see from the picture I put up, they have bones on their head. They wear bone armor, and they fight the undead. Now, obviously, this would come with a cost increase. You'd, want to pay more for them, but the Clan Mordkin variant of Clan Rats would probably have slightly higher armor. Like, what do these guys have for armor right now? 25. Yeah, the Clan Mordkin ones, you'd probably get like 50 from their bone armor, and then they would have ITP because they literally eat the undead. They are not scared of them at all. So you could pay a bit more money for ITP and armor for your frontline, but not quite upgrading to Storm Vermin. Probably price range them somewhere in the 500 to 600 range. I would say. Depends on their other stats, but yeah, it's good. It's your multi-entity model that you usually want in most of these DLC packs. And then the last thing I would add would be another monstrous option for the Skaven, but not a single entity. I brought the Tomb Scorpion because, as you can see in the top right, I put a Scorpion up there. There used to be a clan that was prominent called Clan Verms. They were the opponent of Clan Molder. And Clan Verms had... whereas Molder is like a whole bunch of rats slapped together to make rat ogres or Hellpit abominations or wolf rats, right? They're mutated rats. Clan Verms focused on just breeding stronger and stronger insects. And they used to have these things called Deathwalkers, which are big black scorpions that are roughly... If they were stretched out, they'd be the size of rat ogre, but rat ogres are taller. So the Tomb Scorpion's obviously way larger than the Deathwalkers are, but I just brought it up because we could literally steal that model. Again, low effort. I'm trying to really go out of my way to show how low effort these DLC ideas would be on a programming standpoint. It wouldn't be that bad. Just be a slight reskin. And then with the Tomb Scorpion, you'd probably want to resize it to maybe like a quarter of the size it currently is, and then make a model like, you could put 12 of them in a model count, or 16 or whatever, and just have like a monstrous infantry of Deathwalkers. They would be higher armored than the Rat Ogres, probably less HP, but higher armor, more splash damage, bonus versus infantry. And I'd probably make them a bit pricier too, but you could have options for this Skaven to get some armored monstrous infantry out of the Deathwalkers. And hopefully, as we can see here, the Tomb Scorpions suck for a lot of reasons. And hopefully if you released a DLC unit based on this model, hopefully the Tomb Scorpion would also get some love in the same patch. But could be pretty low effort. Give the Skaven some more monstrous options that aren't single entities. I don't know. I thought the Skaven rosters were pretty fleshed out, but upon reading some of the books, there's still some cool stuff they could do, and everybody wants Thanquil. This is probably going to be inappropriately timed, and I'm going to release this video, and they're going to do the skulls for the Skull Throne event, or whatever the hell that thing's called. And it'll be like, for your free DLC, Thanquil! We released him, there you go, Skaven are done. And it's like, oh, well, rip. But if they ever do another DLC with the release of Thanquil, then those would honestly be about what they do. Because what did I list? I listed a monstrous infantry unit, an infantry unit, legendary hero, legendary lord, and then the warpcaster, which is a single entity artillery. Well, let's look at one of the last DLC races. What was it? Nurgle, sure. Toad Dragon, single entity monster. Plague Ogres, monstrous infantry. Oh, I also did the Storm Fiend. Another monstrous infantry, Rot Knight, and then an infantry unit. Legendary Lord, Legendary Hero. And Regular Hero. And Regular Lord. So I guess I need a Regular Hero and a Regular Lord. Otherwise the unit counts are about the same. Regular Hero and Regular Lord. Huh. Regular Lord, I'm a bit stumped. They're pretty set. You could get a Plague Priest Lord instead of the Grey Seers. Like, you get a true Plague Priest Lord. Give him better melee stats than the Grey Seer, but don't give him the Screaming Bell or the Arcane Conduit. The only mount option he might have would be that the Plague Furnace, but I would honestly consider just not even giving the Plague Lords any mount options, because they usually just run around on foot. But yeah, give them slightly better melee stats, a lot of debuffs, kind of going with the Nurgle philosophy of things, but then don't give them any buffs to spellcasting and just give them Lore of Plague. It'd be pretty whatever, but that'd be fine. For a generic hero, if you got Skaz, the legendary hero. Again, they're doing pretty good. You could get a Clan Scully Infiltrator. Clan Scully is the opposite of Clan Eshin. And you could just kind of copy-paste the Witch Hunter. Right? Clan Scully are the Pirate Rats. Just, like, make it a hybrid melee and missile unit. Something like that. And then give it various debuffs, like, quote-unquote, Accusation. But, you know, you change it to something else, like Poison Bolt or something. And then it just, you know, reduces someone's melee defense or physical resistance or something. But I guess since the Assassin already reduces your melee attack and melee defense, the Clan Scully stuff might be nice to, like, corrode armor, reduce healing by 100%, do that thing that the Mordheim Beowulf's got. Just give Skaven some healing reduction in the form of a hero, where on a cooldown he can just, like, hit you with a thing that says minus 100% healing. So you could time it if someone's gonna use regrowth, you could use that, but I don't know. It could be good. Yeah. Anyway, there's stuff out there. They can make another Skaven DLC, and it'll make billions of dollars. And if they do that, they do legally have to give me credit, because I just came up with all the units for them with minimal work. You're welcome. Roar. Subscribe, yes, yes.